this is the 6-2A notes. And so we're given a Jeep tour and we're asked to find the mean and standard deviation of the Jeep tour. So in L1 I'm going to put down all of the numbers, so stat, edit, and in L2 I'm going to put all the probabilities just like we did last week for 6-1A. And then once that's in and you quit, we're going to sum. And to get the sum, we hit second and then the stat button that gets us to our list menu. Move over to the math and 5. And then we're going to do second 1 times second 2 for L1 times L2. And that will tell us the mean numbers of riders to expect. And so we get 3.75 riders. The square root of the sum, this is the standard deviation, of L1 minus 3.75. Okay, so I'm going to need another parenthesis here, times L2, and when I do that, the answer turns out to be 1.089, so we'll just round this to be 1.09 for the standard deviation. So in part B says it costs $150 per person. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take $150 and I'm going to charge every person $150, which means that's $300 and $450 for 3 people, and $600 for 4 people, and $750 for 5 people, and $900 for 6 people. So my new L1 looks like that. And when I sum L1 times L2, we get the answer of $562.50. Which makes sense because if we took our $3.75 and multiplied it by $150, we'd wind up with $562.50. So what happens with the standard deviation? So now I'm going to do the square root, the sum. It gives me a parenthesis. I need another parenthesis. L1 minus 562.5 squared times L2, which winds up giving us 163.459. As you may have guessed, if I took my 1.09 and multiplied it by 150, we'd get about the same answer, with a little bit of rounding error. And so basically, when multiplying, the sum or the mean gets multiplied and then the standard deviation gets multiplied. Alright, so now it says it costs Pete $100 in gas, permits, and other fees. What is the probability distribution, the mean, and the standard deviation of the profit? Well, if it costs $100 for the permit, that means on this particular ride we make $200. On this one we make $350, because all we're doing is subtracting $100 from the revenue. So I'm going to erase this, and this is my new distribution. So I'm going to change L1 to be what we have here. And then when I do the sum the mean is the sum of L1 times L2, we get the answer of 462.5, which makes sense because it's just $100 less than our answer, and that wasn't the standard deviation, that was the mean. So what's the standard deviation? Square root, parenthesis, or sum, parenthesis, L1 minus 462.5 squared times L2. And when we do this, we get the same answer of 163.459, which means that subtracting $100 from everything doesn't change the rule. So, for means, when we multiply, and it's the same rules that we had in chapters 1 and 2, when it's multiply, you multiply, and when you add, you add. And same thing with subtract, you subtract. For standard deviation, when it's multiply, you multiply. When it's add, you do nothing. When it's subtract, you do nothing. So for problem number 4, when we go through these 3 problems, we are going to do this using the formulas instead of going through the process. So in L1, we're going to put down the hours. And in L2, we're going to have 0.25, 0.1, 0.05, 0.3, 0.1, 0.05, and 0.15. And we need to do the old one because we don't know the answer for the original data. So find that out right now. And so the mean turned out to be 14.65. For the standard deviation, we are going to sum up, we're going to actually square root the sum of L1 minus 14.65 squared times L2. Which is 2.056. For part B, it says that each hour costs $600. So if each hour costs $600 and we're looking for the tuition, all we would have to do for the mean is take 14.65 times $600, and that way we don't have to go through the whole process of figuring out how much it costs for each one of them. And so on average, the tuition is $8,790. And then for the standard deviation, I take my 2.056, multiply that by 600, and my new standard deviation for the tuition payments is $1,233.60 about, with a little bit of rounding error. Letter C says the school makes people pay $100 for books and fees, which means that the price of college has just gone up by $100. So if this school is now charging you $100 for books and supplies, The mean is now 8,890 because all we did was add 100, and the standard deviation is the exact same thing because adding doesn't change the standard deviation from part B. Please email me any questions and start working on the homework. Thank you.